C'est le monde. Moi, je suis très content.
S'il y a des questions, oui.
Et pour me c'est pas qu'on passe toutes les slides en fait. Montre-moi comment ça marche. Marque comment?
On va suivre une après.
En vez de usar herramientas de trabajo rígidas, puedes usar Monday.com para crear la solución perfecta para tu equipo. Es muy fácil de empezar porque hay plantillas para cualquier tipo de equipo.
Good afternoon. Nice to be back here in Lisbon. A long time since we last met. Today we have our third BNG meeting for this year, but it is a format which is slightly different from our regular ones because it's face-to-face. Normally we were digital, and it is in Europe. But we have some of our Latin American colleagues connected through Team. So we are a little bit more than the 40 or 50 here. We normally handle this kind of meeting digital, and our assistance is mainly represented by Latin American people. Today, even if we have many friends from Latin America, we have also friends from Europe and maybe from the States. So we will have a slightly different format. These are our sponsors. So let's start with our agenda. First, Daniel and I will briefly explain what are the activities of LATAM and how you could be part of our network if you are not yet regular guests or members. And then we will have 4 presentations of approximately 20 minutes each to provide you with a quick overview of the region, the maturity of the business, and the trends for the near future. We will start with a presentation by Frost & Sullivan. Octavio Chelu will guide us through the challenges and the trends of the fleet market with some insight on Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina. Subsequently, we will listen to Alfredo Kruger, From LoJack, he will touch on car thefts and insurance market to introduce available technology to reduce the risk. Afterwards, we have Paula Dinitz. I can't see Paula. She has not yet arrived. So hopefully, afterwards, we will have Paula Dinitz from Zoetis. She will give us an interesting information about harmonization capabilities on 8 different markets, and she will explain the challenges that she faces and her achievements. And finally, Ricardo De Bolle from Arval Element will give us a very detailed analysis of the leasing market, competitors and products, and the latest information on TCO evolution, comparing the expectation for the end of 2022 against 2019, something really amazing. But first, I want to explain a little bit and quickly what is this BNG? BNG for Business Networking Group. In 2017, already 5 years ago, we created Fleet LATAM concept to replicate in Latin America the successful experience of Fleet Europe and to consolidate global fleet, which you all know because you are there. So we have dedicated conferences, press article, training, and regular meetings with one main objective: create and expand networking in Latin America to enhance fleet and mobility markets. So coming back to the BNG, it is a community of around 1,000 persons, fleet managers, association and suppliers. Suppliers could be leasing company, OEM, technology company. Suppliers help to finance the activity. We have 14 sponsors, the one you saw in the previous slide, at present time. Association, generally leasing association, and fleet managers are members for free. And we have many guests. As I was saying, we have a meeting every 2 months, digital meeting. It started at 9 a.m. Mexican time and lasts for 90 minutes. We give an opportunity to our sponsors to present their company and their product, 2 presentations per meeting, and then we have a panel of generally 3 speakers, accompanied with members and fleet managers. This year, we have been debating on TCO evolution in January, TCO and telematics in March, and we will probably go on fuel for the next time. Just one final point. I would like to remind you that yearly subscription for suppliers is just 2,000 euros for a year and give a lot of advantage that you can see on the screen. Finally, I would like to inform you that our next face-to-face conference will take place in Mexico in September 19 and 20. The general topic of the conference is Unlocking International Growth in Latin America. I think that's all I wanted to say because I don't want to take too much time. I prefer to leave you with the speakers and the interesting presentation. But Daniel, I would think it would be nice if you can introduce yourself in 5 minutes. We have to say that anyone have question, you please interrupt the speaker.
One moment. Okay, that's the one. Which one did you click here? Okay, okay. Hello, everyone. So yes, great to see a lot of people here. So some faces that I recognize, a lot of new ones, and just want to tell you a little bit about myself and what we're doing with Fleet LATAM and the networking group. So my name is Daniel Bland, and I am the editor for Global Fleet in the Americas. So that would include United States and Canada, and also Mexico is North America, but also with Fleet LATAM. So in Fleet LATAM, of course, is Mexico and southward. And so I have a slide over here just briefly about the main countries, like so most of you know, but so of course, I put it over here, Brazil, of course, is the largest country, the largest in GDP, the largest fleet market with about 70 million vehicles. And then, of course, we got Mexico, 35 million, and following with Argentina, Colombia, and Chile. And we also cover the Caribbean. So the largest market in the Caribbean is the Dominican Republic. So basically what I'm doing is I cover the editorial aspect of Fleet LATAM. So we do analysis as well as some best practices, give some tips for our readers and watchers out there. And so it could be like a product launch. So we do this together with the business network working group members, or maybe like a product launch if you have a new product, or if you have some announcement of a partnership going on, or some expansion plan in a country or maybe in the region. And also seems like our readers like to know about new executive appointments. So we might have a new VP or director or something like that. So we do this by, as you can see at the bottom of the slide over here, through articles, interviews, maybe some case studies about best practices. And now, yeah, most recently doing some video podcasts. So video podcast interviews with executives. So yeah, basically that's about it. So I just want to let you know that what I'm doing together with Fleet LATAM and the business networking group is helping to promote what's going on with your company. And basically that's about it. So the last slide here just has my contact information. You can see my email, and also I mess around a bit with LinkedIn and Twitter.
Thank you very much, Daniel. The good news is that Paola has arrived, so we will have our fourth presentation today. So now let's start with our first speaker, Octavien Chelou. He's a principal consultant at Frost & Sullivan for 5 years. He has also been working in the past for one of the leading leasing companies. So Octavien, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So Paula, I'm happy you managed to make it. I was planning all this entire scenario in my head on which I need to speak for 40 minutes, and I was trying to fill in the time. But good to have you with us. Well, I have to be honest with you, with all of you. I do feel a bit like a bat out of a cave. I think it's the first time in 2.5 years when I'm attending like an official event, and so on. Of course, I'm traveling like to my backyard and to the supermarket, but this is like the first real travel that I managed to do. I debated quite a lot today on what exactly I want to do here today, because I can be in the beginning of this particular session, I can be your boring consultant that is going to pour down in 20 minutes like 5 buckets of data and then call it a day. Or we can discuss actually about more important, what a nice picture. We can discuss about more important things that are happening today. No matter if we are talking about LATAM, if we are talking about Europe, if we are talking about Asia, there are a couple of things that I believe we definitely need to keep an eye on. And basically this happened, of course, because I keep joking about what happened in the past 2.5 years, but it's no joke. The COVID-19 and basically the crisis and everything that this produced. In terms of trends, you can see some examples and basically some quotes or relations to the US market. That's also because US it's part of the Americas, as we call it, and sometimes even LATAM reports itself to the northern continent. That's why it's over there. But I would like to list as a first factor the working from home. And we also what is happening, especially in the US, when companies said, well, it's nice, now the crisis is done, let's bring people back to work. And actually people start just leaving their jobs. So that's a no-go. That means that basically companies, they need to adjust today. They need to look at a model on which they are going to allow people to come to the office, to work from home. There is increasing flexibility, and maybe, just maybe, in LATAM, it might not be the case just yet, but there are a lot of international companies that are present in this market, that are still coming to the market. So I do believe that working from home is going to be a trend that more and more is going to impact also the LATAM market. Now, if we are looking at basically what is happening and what can be the results of all of this, well, one big, I think, result is the increasing in last mile delivery business. So we saw this. I mean, I don't know about all of you, but for me, it's really convenient, even to this day, to just order things. I'm pretty much done with going to stores for, I would say, 80% of my purchases, except if I really need to go buy clothes, try them out. But even then, I'm not so convinced I want to leave the comfort of my home to go be out again, mashing up with people and so on. I'm keeping the going out to the restaurants, to meeting up with friends and so on. But dealing with groceries and everything else, it's pretty much online. And it works beautifully, I would say. So the companies, the delivery companies and everyone, they really managed to step up. And even during the crisis, they managed to somewhat secure those vehicles. And now we see these trends actually for light commercial vehicles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers. It's still growing, and it's still a business that everyone keeps talking about. Now, then we start talking about the economical impact, and then this shift from ownership to usership. Now, this is a heavy debate, and I can't cover it, not even if I would only speak about it for 20 minutes today. What I mean by this, and the first, I would say, association of words that we can mention is vehicle subscription, for example. Like before COVID, everyone was talking, especially in North America, about vehicle subscription. It's so big, it's happening, it's coming, it's going to demolish us all. It was not the case. Because the US has a market, it's set up in such a way on which the dealers, they said, I'm sorry, you want to do what? You want to sell vehicles without actually involve us, the dealerships? No, 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 that is not going to happen. So in the US, vehicle subscription, for example, it was not a success. But that does not mean that in Europe is not happening. You do see, for example, markets such as UK and Germany and Spain and Italy, they are all picking up this this vehicle financing or vehicle usership, because we are talking about a usership. This is only one side of the coin, and we do believe that this is going to expand still through the world, through Latin America as well, and so on. But you do get the economical impact on which, for example, you need to have better security on your finances as a company, which means that basically you would also like to have the possibility to have maybe for a temporary resource, just to have that vehicle secured for 6 months, for 12 months, and be done with it. You don't necessarily want to sign contracts that are going to be years and years and years in length. And I know that this is not the model that the leasing company would like to promote, for example. Yeah, it's much easier to just have a contract for 3 years to 5 years and so on. But the market pushes us all towards this particular scenario. Now, we talked about, again, in general, about what the current setup is. Now, it might seem like, you know, there are opportunities. There are opportunities with regards to light commercial vehicles, to two-wheelers, three-wheelers, of increased flexibility type products, and so on and so forth. Yes, that is true. There are those opportunities. But there is something else that is happening currently. There is, for example, the delay that COVID, first of all, again, I'm coming back to this, but it's one impact. So, for example, you get companies that they wanted to renew their fleet and they couldn't, either financial reasons, either you did not have the vehicles. It was just that simple. The supply chain delay, I don't think I need to go in details on this. All of us, we know about that. The war that is currently looming, and it has impacts. Maybe in LATAM, not so much yet, but in Europe, we can feel it. And we were just discussing before the session that actually you can see the effects spreading gradually throughout the world. So that's still going to impact the leasing market, if you'd like. Maintenance, of course, the costs are going high. It's the cost of our living, I think it goes high day by day. This is another effect of the economy and everything that is happening today. The lack of vehicle inventories, the rising of the fuel prices, and so on and so forth. A lot is happening. The idea is not to scare you, for example, in the beginning of the event. That's not my point. But the point is to open up the floor and to try to steer you into thinking across these 3 full days into how can we all, for example, do something on which we can support this industry. All of us, we are working in this industry. Is there something better that we can do? Is there a type of product or a service that we can, you know, maybe push more towards our clients, towards our markets, and so on and so forth? Try to think along those terms. And I would encourage you, you know, to talk as much as you can with each other, because I was surprised to see how varied the impact of this crisis are across the different industries, company profiles, and so on and so forth. It's really interesting to notice, because all we have something to learn from that. Now, skipping a bit and changing the note and the momentum of the presentation, let's talk about, for example, the key leasing market trends, if you'd like, because in the end, company cars, today, the biggest trend within company car, it's the growth of leasing, and it's not only today, it happens for quite some years now, and this is going to continue to happen. So leasing is set to grow, especially operational leasing, at a faster pace than financial leasing. Then you have private leasing, which is a derivative somewhat of operational leasing mainly as well. That one is set to grow also. But what other trends we see happening? And again, this is not necessarily particular to LATAM, it's not necessarily particular to US or Europe. It's what we managed to see at the global level. So then we are talking about, of course, surprise, surprise, about EV leasing. And EV leasing, for example, might be I would call it a strange terminology, because it would imply that, for example, only leasing should power EVs. That's not necessarily the case, but leasing has, I think, the best positioning for electric vehicles. And all the big leasing companies, starting with Arval and then LeasePlan and ALD and all the other guys, they are the ones that are pushing electric vehicles currently to fleets. They have the right strategy. They are clear in their intent. They mentioned 2025, 27, 2030, how many vehicles they want to have on the street, how many of their clients should have EVs, and so on and so forth. They are doing a lot of consultancy work with their clients today in making sure that that client database understands basically the risk or the challenges or the advantages of making the shift towards electric vehicles. Now, digital retailing, I think that was quite clear. Companies that were not active or they did not have a suited platform when COVID happened, it was very difficult for them to do business, and I'm not going to insist too much on that. So everyone is working on digital today. We have fleet connectivity, and yeah, surprise, surprise. I mean, data, it's important, of course, data, it's important, and it's going to continue to be important, and it's going to continue to be even more relevant, because you have to keep in mind that once the electric vehicles are going to become more and more in the market, we have higher numbers of electric vehicles, something is going to happen in this chain. If you look at repairs, maintenance, all those costs, these are going to shift. These are going to shift into something else. That's something else. It's something that companies currently today are working at quantifying, are working at translating into new products and services. You can look at, for example, charging points that are going to be provided for the companies and then for the employees at home, charging cards, and so on and so forth. There is all this debate with regards to how we can actually use data itself from a connected vehicle in order to make, that data more relevant for the driver itself. You can have infotainment and whatnot. So it can go to all kind of degrees, but data, it's a topic that is not going to disappear off the radar too soon. Vehicle subscription, touched upon it. LCV leasing, again, we talked about the LCV and the growth of light commercial vehicles. This is going to continue with last mile delivery. And it's a trend that basically, I believe it's here to stay. The online ordering and so on. This is definitely going to happen. The consolidation in a market, and I do not want to go into these details, but we all know, and we already heard the news, right, with ALD and LeasePlan. That's the biggest example that I can think of. A new moment than the working from the overall space of leasing company. For example, not necessarily today, because I will be here for these 3 days, but I'm more than happy with each of you, any of you, if you have questions, if you'd like to further discuss on a certain topic or even debate, because you do not agree with the view, I'm more than happy to have that debate over a cup of coffee. Really looking forward to it. So just let me know at any moment. This is the face, hunted down on the hallways, and then I'm happy to discuss. Now, because we were talking about EVs and how important EV is going to be, what exactly powers this shift towards electrification? Of course, for example, in Europe, we do have this, European Commission with all the goals that we are setting, and it's getting quite strict, for example, and companies, they need to move, the leasing providers, the same, they need to move, we all need to move towards EV. It's not the same across the world. It's not the same, for example, in Latin America. So maybe understanding what exactly powers this EV mind shift from an owner perspective, right? From a company car owner. So first of all, you start with the government policy. If you do not have, this is what we saw in Europe. If you do not have a government policy, this change becomes very difficult. If you do not have the right incentives powered by the government, and I can also give you an example that goes somewhat the other way. I'm currently living in the Netherlands. I'm Romanian by nature, so I'm coming from Romania. Now, within the European Union space, Romania, I think, offers still one of the biggest incentives for new electric vehicles, somewhat around 10,000 euros per new electric vehicle, which is perfect, it's brilliant. You would think all Romanians are driving EVs, right? False. Why? Because there is no infrastructure. I mean, perfect, the government is brilliant. We have the incentives. but building something, I don't know, some charging points, so it's not only about the government to do everything, it's also about the rest of the market, basically starting with the government policy, having the right incentives, looking at companies that want to make the shift from a corporate sustainability point of view. The TCO, I'm not going to insist too much on that one, but the TCO with regards to electrification today, it's a tricky topic. Also because of the prices of electric vehicles, which are still high, so it's not that easy to make a one-on-one calculation on the TCO with an ICE vehicle. Home and public charging, again, the infrastructure needs to be in place in order to make it work. The product range, once we are, I don't have anything against Tesla, but once we are going to have 30 makes and models, is going to be a different story, with the prices, with the availability, with people making the right choice with regards to electrification as well. So having the product range is also important. The charging technology is also something that, and this is somewhat linked with why leasing can be that type of solution that it's going to push electrification. Because at this particular moment, forget me as a consultant, as a former leasing guy, if I would like to purchase an electric vehicle, I would not go for a credit or a loan or a cash purchase. Why? Because in 5 years, I have no idea on the value of that vehicle. I really don't know. And what am I going to do? Yeah, it's a nice Tesla, sure, it's a Series 3 or whatever model that they have, but in 5 years, the range, is it going to be enough? Am I still going to get some of my money back? So that's why what the leasing companies are doing, it's actually, even with the private leasing product, they are supporting people actually to make the transition easier towards, because they bear the risk, and then you can at least, even at a company or as a private individual, you can say, hey, at least I can try it. I can see what it means if I like it. Or even if I don't, in 3 years' time, then I can go back to, I don't know, plug-in hybrids and God knows what. These are the EV trends and the relevance for fleets, basically what is happening today. Now, I promised you some figures because in the end, I'm a consultant, so I need to basically, make the name of consultancy still to the day, make it honorable. So basically what we have over here, we have Argentina. Now, don't get scared because you're going to see Argentina. For example, you're going to see the company car registrations very low, which is true. That's true. But again, we are talking about, for example, policies. We are talking about even having the right legislation in place in order for those companies to have any sort of benefit from having a true company car fleet. So we are talking about this. We are talking about awareness of companies as well in those in Argentina, for example, in particular, companies that don't necessarily know what are the benefits of a company car, what are the benefits of leasing, what are the benefits of all the other financing methods, and so on and so forth. So we do believe that this is going to grow, the company car registration. And again, this is only depicting the new vehicle registrations, right? So that's the comparison. Is not the total park. It's not the total park, of course, is going to be bigger and so on. But Argentina, amongst the 3 countries that we are looking at today, so it's Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico. Argentina is the smallest. Now, the second one, it's Brazil. Sorry, I think you were here. Yeah, oh, good. On Brazil, now, Daniel already stole my pie. So Brazil is the biggest in comparison with Argentina. So then we are looking at the Brazilian market also is being pushed a lot. And this number of new vehicle registrations are being pushed a lot by, for example, a lot of multinational companies that are coming to the market, are more and more active. And we do still have information that more international companies are still going to come to this market. So that's why Brazil, you're going to see all of them, are growing. But please do not forget about what happened in 2020. It was a big gap. So keep that in mind. And now the market, it's on a recovery trend. And it might be that even this trend at this moment, we are still talking about a forecasted 2020. We might be still a bit too optimistic in our forecast because, well, yeah, the microchip crisis is still not ending up. Apparently, the war is going to continue for quite a long time. So all of these might have a bigger impact than we accounted for. And then the last one is the Mexican market, which it's somewhere in the middle. But again, the story is the same. Yes, you're going to see it was a big dip in 2020 and then market recovery that is forecasted. Now, why do I keep talking about market recovery? Well, I keep talking about market recovery because, first of all, there are going to be companies that are going to shift the focus towards Latin America. You have to keep that in mind. Europe, for the most part, it's a mature market. So you have all these big leasing companies that basically they're pretty much set over here. And everyone is going to start looking for a new play around. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities in those regions, and I do believe companies are going to pay more and more attention to what is happening over there. Now, and the last slide, I hope I'm in time. If you need me to speak more, just let me know. That's not a problem. Perfect, super. So now we are talking about, and this is LATAM specific, so I have one slide on LATAM. So first of all, as I was mentioning, we're talking about leasing, which is an emerging business segment. And that one should be packed together with the product awareness. So without product awareness and without investing the right amount of educating the market and try to support companies in making the transition towards a new type of financing, new type of, it can be powertrains, vehicles, and so on, this change is going to be very difficult. So we need to understand that those companies, they're always going to calculate what does it mean for them. They don't care that much about, oh yeah, it should be, the environment. Yeah, it's nice. I completely agree with the politics of it. I completely agree with the fact that we need to reduce the CO2 emissions. But at the end of the day, a company that really struggles or needs to be profitable, they're really going to make the calculation. Is it worthwhile for me to make this change now? Yes or no? And if we, as consultants, as industry experts, we are not able to support them in understanding what this means, most likely this change is going to be very, very painful for all of us. So that's something to keep in mind. I've talked about competition slightly, then we are talking about mobility. There are changes that are happening, and we see already starting from Europe, you get, with working from home, but then you get also concepts such mobility as a budget, for example. You get companies that are providing their employees with the choice of what would you like? Would you like to drive a vehicle? Would you like to take the bus, the train, a combination of this? What exactly would you like? So there are going to be people that more and more are going to be looking into that area. I don't necessarily see it as a scary sign for the industry in terms of, oh my God, we are going to lose the number of vehicles on the streets. We are not there yet, but definitely there is more and more talk about this. And then the last part, which are the opportunities? We talked about it, starting from the right, for example, leasing. Used car leasing as well. So I don't know exactly how the used car market looks like in Latin America, but for example, in Europe is just, I would call it in a professional way, crazy. Because basically, I think in the past month and a half, a price for a used vehicle, at least in the Netherlands, grew by, I think, 20 to 25%. So it's unbelievable because the lack of new vehicles and so on, but also the used car market spiked by a lot. And I believe that this is going to become relevant from a provider point of view. If you are going to make the association of used vehicle with a short-term, it can be leasing, it can be, you name it, a short-term contract. That's where basically that profitability threshold for a provider has or makes more sense to be reached than with a new vehicle. So that's something to keep in mind, because all of us, we are looking like at leasing companies, why don't you guys have more flexibility? Well, yes, thank you. Flexibility is beautiful, but what about profitability? Because we keep talking about it. So this can be relevant also for that one. Then we are talking about the SMEs and the private individuals, because private leasing, again, has a lot of potential. And we see it in Europe, in Western countries in Europe. In the US, it's big for a very long time. But we believe that is going to continue to grow and develop including in Latin America. And corporates are the key customers, of course. That's not me telling you something new. It's just me closing the presentation. Thank you very much. And again, if there are questions, let's start the debate. Happy to take any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Octavian. There is no question or comments. We can continue, and then we will have a session of questions at the end, but you can interrupt also. So now we have Alfredo Kruger. Alfredo Kruger is Vice President for LATAM and Managing Director of LoJack in Mexico. He has an international experience in the UK, Spain, and the US, and has been working for more than 10 years in the leasing and fleet management business in Mexico. Alfredo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pascal. Good afternoon. I'm also very excited to be among, or after 2.5 years, to be present here. And I prepared a 15 minutes Pascal presentation, so don't hesitate to stop me, and I can deep into any subject or matter that you would like to have. I wanted to start with an overview of how keen every country in LATAM is with regards to or prone to assure or insure our assets. As we can see, unfortunately, the average is 30% of the total fleets that circulate in Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Chile. 30 or less than 30% is insured or has an insurance. Although in the majority of those countries, insurance is an obligation that everybody has to do it. No. Having said that, it is also quite challenging to see the thefts that currently each country has. No? So having said that, each, I would say, not only company cars, but also private individuals, since they are not insured and they have a really high crime in vehicles that are being stolen, but they have to have a strategy. No? And as we can see, those crimes are committed in a particular areas, the majority. No? In the case of Mexico, a little bit more than 50% occurs in just 3 states. The same goes for Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. No? So having said that, the question for us is, what are we doing in order to stop or to prevent a theft that is affecting us on a daily basis? No? 3 countries have almost 75% of all the thefts in the region. And this is also a very nasty indicator. No? 60% of all insured thefts in Mexico are committed with violence. It means that the person that is suffering the theft is psychologically affected after the event. No? So what are we doing? That's we are not police. We cannot apprehend or try to a strategy in order to combat the thefts. But what we can do is put technology in order to make it harder to the guys that are doing the thefts, and also to recover the assets. No? Today in Mexico, the recovery rate of the police is less than 20%. So it means that if an asset gets stolen, you lost the asset. No? And if it's not insured, then you lost the value of that asset. So what we see, what companies or corporations are looking for or should look for, number one, obviously, is security and avoid accidents. And technology can help a lot. I will tell you why. No? Obviously, prevent thefts. To have this peace of mind that if the asset is stolen, get it stolen, because it can be recovered. Obviously, technology helps on generate some savings on the TCO. You all have been aware of this, and it depends on the type of device and all the information you can extract from the device in order to make the right decisions at the right time, no? Which is the last one. No? And individuals, we are looking forward to have peace of mind, of course, to have this feel of protection for their assets and their family members. For the majority of people that are buying a car, is their second most value asset, and today a vehicle is a necessity. We know that. So having technology to help protect that asset makes totally sense, no? And obviously, to have a best cost benefit algorithm, no? Something that since there's no culture in our region to hire an insurance company to insure my car, any solution must be cost effective so that they feel that they can do it, no? So in terms of technology, what is out there? What can we find? What alternatives are, no? For companies that are looking to strengthen their security, if a vehicle is stolen, we know that the connected car technology is basically a cell phone connection and a GPS tracking type of connection. There are other technologies. We use radio frequency, and this is a technology that we have been using since 40 years ago, which is quite effective for the recovery of vehicles stolen only. Why? Because the signal is not jammable, because if the vehicle is stolen in underground parking lots or inside a trailer, it still gets signal, no? So for that particular case and for our region, that is a highly valuable technology, no? And the other is not just the technology, but to have also the connection and the participation of the police. We are not police officers, no? So this is what LoJack has been doing for the last 40 years, no? And as you are aware, we were bought by Calamp 2.5 years ago. Calamp is the biggest IoT technology in the world. They have more than 22 million active devices today, no? And they manufacture every type of device for every type of asset, no? It's not the same to have a motorbike or a trailer or a green machinery that is working on the fields or a yellow machinery that is in the construction. They vibrate a lot. There has to be a particular type of asset, of device. And this is exactly what Calamp has been developing, no? So today, you can find a huge variety of solutions with the objective to deliver that peace of mind and deliver real value to customers. Today, we work with the most important OEMs in the construction, in the agro industry, no? Devices that have embedded inside driver behavior, for instance. This can be downloaded from the OBD of the car, but also it can be generated from the device, no? Which is highly appreciated. And what is next, no? What comes next? In the case of Mexico, 2 states, due to the high crime that is happening inside public transportation, like a year and a half ago, they made compulsory to have video surveillance inside those units. We are one of the few companies that are registered in order to do that, and we have started to develop artificial intelligence processes in order to recognize weapons inside the vehicle, no? So when that happens, the police is informed immediately, no? We have hybrid systems, one device with both technologies, GPS and radio frequency, no? In order to live the best of both worlds and beyond, no? So we believe that working together with the needs of our customers, what is happening inside each country with the industry, we can be or try to be one step ahead of the problematic that we have today and deliver a connected car environment that will benefit all of us. No, that's at the end of the day one of our most important objectives. Please feel free during these 3 days to approach myself, Guillermo, or Jose Rubio. He comes from, he's the responsible of Spain and Portugal. We're going to be here 3 days, and we would like to explore more in depth how we can add value to your current needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfredo. Security and safety is really a strategic point in Latin America, one of the most crucial areas to face. I would have liked to see a video of something happening and the weapons, and you have not that with you. No. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Any question? So we continue. No question from team, Aline? No? Okay, good. So now we will listen Paula Dinitz. We will have the presentation from a fleet manager. Paula is global head of fleet for Zoetis. She's based in the USA. She has been working for 10 years in facility management and fleets, and has a vast experience in project management.
Okay. Okay, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. So, my name is Paula. I manage the global fleet at Zoetis. Okay. Zoetis is a pharmaceutical company, right? They provide all kind of medicine for animal health. And I'm talk about it, some harmonization of fleet management and mobility dynamics for Latin America. So basically in LATAM, we have around 700 vehicles. Most of them are field force. I would say 80% field force, 20% benefits. Our fleet, they go to farms, so we need like strong vehicles to support the operation, and other part work in big cities. So I'm gonna cover differences between countries. I'm gonna talk about some providers, fleet management, fuel providers. What is that? Yeah. Okay. Safety program and sustainability. As mentioned in previous presentations, Brazil and Mexico, I would say, are our benchmarking countries. They are the biggest fleet. Okay, Brazil, we have almost right this year 500 vehicles. And Mexico around maybe 100. In terms of fleet management, we have great providers, local and regional, right? Great options, to manage our fleet. Fuel control in place, so we have accurate data from fuel providers. Better in Brazil compared to Mexico, but we can work very well with what we have in Mexico. Telematics, we implemented telematics in Brazil in 2018. Was a great success, and then we expand the telematics for all field force. We start with a pilot project, and then we could extend for the others, and now we are discussing in Mexico, right? Mexico, they are a little bit more resistant to implement, but I see like they are open their minds for telematics. Both countries, they have similar operation. Cost per vehicle is very similar, for both countries. and same opportunities. In terms of hybrid and electric, I see more options in Mexico compared to Brazil. But Brazil, we launched the program to use ethanol instead of gasoline. So right now, 80% of our field force use ethanol, and we could reduce the CO2 emission considerably. Argentina, we purchase vehicles, high inflation interest rate. So we purchase is a better option for us. We have also good players in the market, both local and regional. We have a fuel control in place. We still don't have telematics, and I don't see, hybrid and electric vehicles in place sooner. It's still a challenge to implement in our operation. Colombia also is, I would say, it's a market mature in terms of fleet providers, fuel control. We right now have leasing. Before we purchase, some years ago, we used to purchase vehicles. Right now, we lease vehicles. All of them come with telematics, which help us a lot. And hybrid are available in the market, so we can implement in our operation. Chile, it's I start working with fleet in 2017, and I see Chile one of the markets that has been growing a lot. I think there are a lot of investment from fleet providers there, so we have much more data, accurate data from them. Fuel control is still a challenge. We are there is one big player in the market called Copec. They have like they work, they have more how can I say, gas stations for the country. So it's the only one that can work with us. But since it's just them there, we have some challenge in the legal discussion, right? So I think fuel is it's still it's okay, but it has to get better. We still don't have telematics. Hybrid vehicles are still we have availability. Electric, so far we don't have any options to implement. In Peru, we have good regional providers as well, good players. We don't have fuel control. It's too hard. There is no, I mean, there is fuel companies, but they don't give data, accurate data for us. Hybrid also, we don't see like as an option right now. Telematics, it's something under discussion, especially in terms of safety. Telematics would help us a lot, also to control the fuel somehow, because it's still we don't have like a fuel control there. Ecuador is one of our most expensive countries. It's higher compared to the other. Don't have many players in place. Just we work with a local provider. Fuel control also is still a challenge. We don't have like a company as ticket log and the red in place. We have telematics in vehicles, and hybrid also we can have there. It's accessible in terms of price and availability. So just talking about sustainability, we have a target to be carbon neutral until 2030, right? So it's a big challenge. So the idea is to make a transition to hybrid before getting electric vehicles. So we need to wait until electric vehicles. We have more infrastructure. The TCO is more under control. So we are going to wait some years to have to be able to implement electric vehicles. And the last region is Central America. Central America, I would say, is the biggest challenge, right? Because we don't have many options in terms of fleet management companies in place. I think there is challenges also in taxes and in terms of benefits. We still also have some. It's not clear also how to charge the employees in terms of use of the vehicle. So Central America is kind of, I would say it's not so mature compared to the other markets. The vehicles, especially in Costa Rica, vehicles are very expensive there. I've just, get a Ford Explorer for like $78,000. So it's crazy, right? In other countries, we pay like 40,000 or 38, right? There is $78,000, so it's really expensive. But we see like incentives from government, especially in Costa Rica, for electric vehicles. So it's a market that maybe sooner we can have more options in our fleet. Okay. That's what I have. Thank you very much. Any questions? No? In Brazil, it's just field force, depend of the country. In Brazil, it's just field force. For other countries, is everybody. Okay. Mexico, we plan to implement to everybody. In Brazil, it's still under discussion. Yeah, a little. Yeah, it is a little bit. But because of COVID, most of the executives, they are working from home. So our fuel consumption dropped a lot, right? So actually, we are focused to implement in Mexico right now, in other countries, and let these cars in Brazil for like a second wave. Like we are focused on other countries that don't have telematics, especially Mexico and US. US is not here, but US, we plan to do it.
Just a quick question. So you said by 2030 you want to be carbon neutral or carbon
Uh-huh.
zero. So that's basically in fleet terms, that's about 2 cycles. How do you strategize your replacement cycle to match those goals in terms of the next 80 years with your fleet?
Yeah. So we are planning to do the transition to hybrid first, and maybe we are still studying some of the countries with our partners, but we plan maybe in 2024 when we have more visibility, more options in the market, and start including the electric vehicles in our fleet. To be honest, Latin America will be very challenging market to do it, because it's not only to make the transition, but also where the fuel come, right? If it's a renewable energy, this kind of thing, we need to think about it as well. So But that's the plan. Hybrid first, and then electric vehicles maybe in 2024, 2025 on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
First one is we heard from Alfred Kluger that theft can be an issue across Latin America, but you don't have in all the vehicles connected solutions or telematics. So how do you deal with that? Can you deal with that?
In terms of data, you mean?
In terms of recovering the vehicles or making sure that the vehicles are not stolen? Is there something that you have in your strategy that plays on that part?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we don't have many issues with stolen vehicles. We don't. I mean, we have issues with accidents for sure in field force a lot, and that's why one of the reasons telematics help us, right? But stolen vehicles, it's not a big issue. I don't have. If I have one, it's I can count in hands, right? In Mexico, we have a GPS. It's not telematics, it's a GPS, right? But telematics would be much more useful in terms of data for us. Especially to do this transition in terms of sustainability, telematics will help, right? To just to identify the potential drivers and see other kinds of mobility we can implement, right? See other things that telematics will help us.
And the second question is, you don't have in all places leasing yet, but in the places where you have, in the countries where you have leasing in Latin America, can you work there with one leasing company?
No.
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 You need to work with multiple ones.
Yeah, I have multiple companies, but of course we try to have few providers as possible, but sometimes it's not possible. You know, I mean, in practice, we have to work with the provider that give us the best operation, you know, and sometimes it's not, they are not regional, they are local, right? And they give the data that we need. It's not, maybe it's not standardized, but they give data. So yeah, we sometimes work with local providers. Yeah.
One question too, in terms of telematics, do you work with your leasing company or do you contract direct with a telematic company?
I work with the leasing company. It's easier for us. Yeah.
Thank you. Ramon Cano, Philip Morris. Thank you so much for your speech. Two questions. First one, do you widely offer, or does your company widely offer cash allowance for your employees in Latin America instead of a car? There is no.
No.
Okay.
We don't.
And do you run in a country any car ownership program so your employees can get the property of the asset after the leasing contract expires or something close to that?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
So do you run any car ownership program so the drivers can actually get the property of the car at the end of the leasing period? So they become the owners, or they just need to pay?
No, actually, we give like in some countries we give a small discount, but the idea is to return the vehicle. We don't give any kind of incentive for the employee to purchase the vehicle at the end of the lease. Okay, the idea is to return the lease and start another one.
Thank you. My name is Raluca Moșu. I'm from IDEX. We do similar business as your company. My question is, do you have a regional car policy in place or a local one? And within the car policy, do you give the same car entitlement to each of the field representatives in all countries? Or do you have specific type of vehicle per country?
So I have a global policy not a regional. I have a global policy, but it's a very high level. You know, they don't main the global policy mention. You know, it's more aligned with the strategy of the company. It's much more high level. Each country has their own policy, especially because prices are different, models are different, operation are changes, challenges. So we do each country do a policy, a different policy. And in terms of food force, they're very similar, but not the same. Okay, and benefit as well. They are similar, but they are not the same. You know, sometimes we do like small changes in amount, and there are we work with global job level also, and also it changes country by country. Okay.
Thank you very much, Paula. What a success. So now we will listen Ricardo de Bolle. He has 16 years of experience with Arval, and for the last 5 years, he has been responsible for developing global business in the region, coordinating Arval Element and the other partners in the region.
Thank you, Pascal. Hello, everyone. As the other speakers, I'm really glad to be here today. Far from my home country, I'm from Brazil, same as Paula. And also glad to see you face to face, because it's been 2.5 years. I think the last time we saw each other, it was in Mexico City, if I'm not mistaken. 19, so over 2.5 years. What I brought to you today, I'm not gonna sell anything. I'm just a curious guy. I like numbers. So for some of you that don't like numbers, it will be a very boring presentation, I'm afraid. I know that Pascal liked a little bit, so you love numbers, so that's it. So which one is this, the red one? Okay. So first of all, we start to say who we are, then a regional overview of Latin American region, the competitive landscape, going to the full service lease market evolution, some data, then fleet differences between the regions, so EMEA, North America, and also South America. And at the end, I think this is the cherry on the cake. It was, there's a lot of work behind those numbers, and those numbers are very transparent to you all. It will give you a great visibility where we are in terms of fleet in the market. So this is a general overview of Element Arval Global Alliance. Everything in dark green is or Element or Arval, and in the light green are our strategic partners. We are a fleet management company managing over 3 million vehicles in 63 countries. So the region. There's a lot of people over there, and almost, say, 20 countries. There are dependent country territories, 14, because some of them belongs, for example, to US or to European countries. The combined GDP, 5.6 trillion US dollar. The US population, just to give you an idea, is 334 million people, and the US GDP, it's almost 4 times the total GDP of the region. This is the competitive landscape. So I saw that Paula brought work with a fleet management companies. She also mentioned local ones. So this is the main companies that work in full service leasing in the region. So Element and Arval are present in almost all the countries, and the same as ALD and then LeasePlan. This is the full service lease market evolution. As you can see, almost all markets are growing. Besides, the one number that I'd like to highlight is this one. We saw in Foster and Sullivan presentation. It's a big hit in 2020. And so 2019, not so much, but 2020, 2021, a small recovery. Fleet differences. So for you, I think that most of you are based here in EMEA. It's quite easy to understand the Latin American countries, but it's not the same for US, because in US, you have the open-end, it's an open-end lease market, and the services are pay-as-you-go. And when we try to convince or try to explain how the Latin American market works, it's quite hard because it's a different setup. So who owns the risk? It's the leasing company or the company, the client itself. So US, Canada, open and lease market. Who takes the risk is the fleet management company. In Mexico is a little bit different. It's a hybrid system where there's a shared risk on residuals and on services. However, Latin America is based on the European fleet model. So it's a closed-end environment. You have all the services included in the lease, and who takes the risk is the fleet management company. So quite easy for you to understand what we do. So it's the same thing. Here's the boring part. I told you before. Small numbers, but what I'd like to highlight here. We take Brazil, for example. You have also Colombia, Peru.
Los accidentes ocurren mucho y tienen graves consecuencias para las víctimas, el tiempo, el dinero.
Mexico, no, I didn't get the data from Mexico. So what we can see here, what I mentioned, the cherry in the cake, TCO evolution in percentage. If we compare 2019 to 2022, this takes into consideration all costs. So it's a full service lease program, 36 months, 100,000 kilometers, insurance, telematics, everything except fuel. Fuel, I kept apart. Why? Because if you look at fuel, fuel has increased from here to here, 65%. So if the monthly rental increased by 76%, you're going to say, hey, this is an absurd. It costs a lot. But why? When you look at, here is an example of vehicle that we took into consideration. It's a General Motors Onyx 1 liter. The price of that vehicle increased 63%. The interest rate, the base interest rate, so it's an official index, it's not our data, 188%. It's a big hit. Inflation, it's also a component because 24% is also a lot. And the exchange rate. The exchange rate is important because spare parts are important. And also, it has an impact also on fuel because fuel is marked as an international commodity. So this is just to give you an idea where it comes from. This presentation, Pascal, it would be available for everyone, I think, right? So you have all the data, you can dig on the numbers, and you can reach out to me anytime you want, and we can discuss about those, I would say, great numbers, but not so positive. So this was Brazil. Then we have Colombia. Colombia, as you can see, is a little bit different. 37% big hit on the price of the vehicle, but not so much in the interest rate. Going further, this is Chile, 44%, but what did this come from? From the interest rate. In Chile, all the vehicles are imported. So if you have an impact on your exchange rate, it will impact for sure the price of the vehicle. So as you can see, the price of the vehicle has not increased so much because the US dollar exchange rate has not increased. However, the interest rate, this 300% increase in 3 years. Last but not least, this is Peru. Peru, 39%. The big hit came on interest rate, not so much also in the vehicle price evolution, 27%, because also Peru is import all the vehicles, right? So this is it on my end. Short presentation, big numbers. I told before, maybe a little bit boring, but if you have any question, please let me know, and I will be glad to answer. Thank you.
Just one question. So on the close-ended leases, the effect of the exchange rate and the interest rates must have had a very positive effect on your risk on residual value. Did that move positive with the same percentages?
For sure, it was positive. It is positive for sure. Not at the same ratio. Thank you. Not the same ratio, but it's considered also in the TCO, right? One thing is important, and this is we work with analysis. You know that full service leasing companies, we analyze our risks in the future, right? For instance, Sullivan mentioned about why to make a lease on EVs and so on, because we make strong calculations to set up the risk on those assets. This is my opinion. I think we are in the peak. It will not go up, right? But one thing that in big markets, like the Brazilian market, we cannot forget that there is an opening effect. So in terms of production, Brazil used to produce 2.5 million vehicles, and it was producing 1 million vehicles. So we have an opening effect. And demand that needs to be aligned in the future. So maybe it will take a little more time for the residuals to go down. So, but I think it's on the peak. It will not increase very much.
Just one question. Oh, sorry.
Hi, thank you. So one question, what is the average contract length with your customer, like 36, 48 a month? And with the, this vehicle shortage, if those contracts are becoming longer or not, how is this affecting in LATAM?
That's a great question. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back. Pascal said that I worked for Arval for 16 years now. 16 years ago, 12 months. It was the average time. Why? Because our market was focused on short-term rental cars that purchase a lot with the OEMs, and after a certain period of time, they sell the vehicles on the used car market at a higher price than in purchase. Just simple as that. Then the market, until 7-8 years ago, 2 years. Before the pandemic, the average time was 36 months. And now we see 4 years going up to 5 years. 4 to 5. But with some LCVs, depending on the mileage, up to 6 years. So all the contracts are extending. And something that is very common for you all, it's TCO, everybody understands. But in Latin America, TCO, people don't know much. They just want to know what is the price that I'm going to pay for to purchase that vehicle. Because we cannot forget that less than 10% of the fleet today is on full service leasing. 90% of the fleet is on purchase, right? So TCO is not so common as it is for you all. But moving to your question, moving today from 4 to up to 6 years.
I would imagine that the level of inflation, which is, if I'm not mistaken, between 40 and 80% more or less in 2 years, is well, the only way to face that inflation is by extending contract, increasing residual values. and driving a little bit less because there is homework, no? Can you compensate, and until which level you can compensate?
So thank you, Pascal. So everything is based on DCO, and this is what we are going to propose to our clients, because if we take into consideration the average monthly rate of rental that a client has today, even if the mileage of that vehicle extending that contract is not optimal, to make that change in maybe 12 months or 18 months, when we compare with the new vehicle that has a much higher price, then it's the contract extension and the flexibility is the most advantageous solution, right? So that's why extending contracts is the most appropriate solution today.
Okay. Thank you, Ricardo. So we have finished our session now. I would like to thank our 4 speakers. Two announcements. Hope to see you in September in Mexico, 19th and 20th of September. And hopefully also having more people joining our business networking group, which I believe is providing interesting information. So you can go to Daniel Savini, which is at the back of the room here. He's our sales guy from Nexus. So if you want to join the BNG, he will be more than happy to welcome you. I would also like to say that we will have a picture of the group. If you can spend 2 or 3 minutes with us afterwards in the stairs, just to make sure that everything can be seen on the picture. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Los accidentes ocurren mucho y tienen graves consecuencias para las víctimas, el tiempo, el dinero y la eficiencia de los negocios. Ahora puede contar con Crashbox, un servicio de gestión de riesgo del vehículo altamente fiable, que envía alertas instantáneas de choque, informes detallados de reconstrucción de accidentes y estimaciones predictivas de daños físicos en tiempo casi real. Aunque muchos accidentes no llegan a declararse, Crashbox brinda notificaciones automatizadas con un 99% de confiabilidad en el momento del impacto y proporciona una clasificación de severidad del choque y un informe detallado del incidente, de modo que las empresas puedan enviar ayuda de emergencia directamente al lugar del choque y agilizar proactivamente el proceso de reparación. Para un mejor entendimiento, el informe de reconstrucción de accidentes colabora en la investigación para ayudar a verificar la exactitud del informe de choque del conductor, posibilitar una más exitosa subrogación y mitigar el fraude. Las estimaciones predictivas de daños en tiempo casi real permiten a las empresas enviar el servicio adecuado al lugar adecuado en el momento adecuado para mejorar la clasificación y ahorrar tiempo y dinero. Apoyado en décadas de conocimiento de la industria y la telemática de vehículos, ingeniería de sistemas de seguridad para vehículos de fabricación original y gestión de riesgos, Crashbox se ha granjeado elogios por parte de expertos de la industria y la confianza de las empresas. Los accidentes siempre ocurrirán. Crashbox lo ayuda a administrarlos mejor para reducir costos, mitigar el fraude y habilitar nuevos servicios. Visite calamp.com/Crashbox para obtener más información.